Hey everybody, it's Adam. Bringing you another wheel class. We're going to focus more on hamstrings today. Working into potentially full splits, so we'll see where we go. We will be using blocks today, so if you do have some blocks, grab some blocks. If you don't, not a big deal. We'll show you how to do it without the blocks. So grab your wheel. I'm going to move to the middle of the mat, and we'll start by rolling out our backs. So this is a pretty standard way that I start my classes, just rolling out your back. Gives your body an ability to get comfortable on the wheel and just start to align your spine. So wheel to the middle of the back, hands out wide, knees bent, start to press into your heels, lift your hips, and then let your head drop back. Bring the wheel to about the middle of the spine, and then take about 2 to 3 breaths here. Opening up through the chest. And feel the shoulders start to squeeze behind you. All right, now so adding some movement. Press your heels into the mat and bring the wheel all the way towards the neck. Nice up between the shoulder blades, and then slowly descend all the way down towards the base of the spine. We'll do that a couple times. Take your time, go slow. Inhale all the way up the spine, and then the exhale down the spine. You can do that as many times as you want to. We're going to be here for about another 10 or 15 seconds. If you want to start adding some arms into this, you can bring the arms above the head. Bring the fingers to the inside of the wheel. That's the plastic part. Thumbs to the padded side. Elbow squeeze in next to the ears. Good rotation for your shoulders. And then slowly press back into your heels and see where this can take you. Now we're driving the elbows towards the ground. They don't need to touch, but they're moving in that direction. If they do touch, that's great. Press into the elbows and feel that big stretch in the armpits. And if you're still hanging out there, you still get that big stretch. So wherever you've ended up, take 2 more breaths there. All right, now slowly start to bring the hips back towards the ground. Release the wheel. Once those hips touch the ground, grab the shins, and we'll bring the body forward. Now wrap your arms in front of the shins, grab for opposite elbows. Lengthen through the crown of the head on the inhale. And pull your chin in towards your chest on the exhale. Squeeze the knees. Take one more like that. Inhale, lengthen the spine. And exhale, squeeze everything in. All right. Nice. Let's release the arms. I'm going to move into working on our quads now. All right, so let's take a version of crescent moon pose. So my right leg is going to come forward, left leg is going to come back, and I'm actually going to lift my back knee, so I guess more of a crescent lunge pose. So bringing your wheel to your left quad, left toes are on the ground, right knee is bent, and both hands are framing this right foot. Okay, so take some time here. Once you found a little stability on that left leg, we're going to roll forward and back. So using the pressure from the wheel to move into the quad and start to open up through that quad. So little bits of movement, forward and back. Right now, your left toes are really the gauge for how much pressure you're putting into that left quad. Okay, so if you're looking for a little bit more, engage your left glute, lift your left toes off the mat, and then continue that rolling. Little bits of forward and back. Now, if you're familiar with rolling any type of muscle group, typically you do this till you cry. We're not going to do that today. So we're just going to do this for about another 5 seconds or so. So just starting to open up, add a little pressure to that left muscle group. All right, now we're going to add a twist. So come forward, plant your left hand just to the outside of your left shoulder. All right. Now with your left leg still on that wheel, bend your left knee. Now reach back with the right hand, and we're going to reach for that that left foot. So you can maybe grab the foot, but if you're not grabbing it yet, just reach in that direction. All right, if you could grab it, grab the foot, gaze over your right shoulder, kick into your right hand. All right, so feel that openness in the right shoulder, and then if you want, you can add that movement back in. So little bits of movement this time. That entire left quad is flexed now, so the movement is going to be a little more intense. Say about 2 or 3 more breaths. Gazing down towards your left hand might help with your balance. Gazing over that right shoulder is definitely a little more challenging. Just one more breath. All right, now if you're moving, pause here first. Release the left leg. Try to guide it down. Don't let it slingshot down. Bring the right hand back forward. All right, then we're going to come off the wheel. Now still moving into our crescent moon legs. So right leg forward, left knee back. We're going to bring the wheel underneath this right leg. So right behind the right calf and right underneath the right hamstring. All right, so we're going to position the wheel right there. Walk your left leg back a little farther. So we're going to start to work on our left hip flexor. All right. So nice and strong. Put both hands into this front knee. We're going to gently press into this right knee and then feel the length of the spine. Now for the stability in the hips, we want to feel that left hip start to move forward, the right hip moving back. All right, now that the spine's long, you start to feel some engagement to that left hip flexor. Arms are going to start to lift towards the ceiling, so feel the length in the body. Pinky fingers rotate in towards each other, and then pull the shoulders down so the shoulders come away from the ears. Now from there, we're going to lift the gaze up. Now you can keep the arms long, or you can maybe bend the elbows and start to take this to a back bend. Now as we start to back bend, that left hip wants to draw back, so keep that left hip tracking forward. Elbows bending gives you a nice active upper back bend. If you want to add a little bit of leverage, you can extend the arms above the head. Palms face in towards each other, pinky fingers rotating in. And if you want to add a little bit more leverage with weight, you can interlace the fingers above the head, releasing the pointer finger. Now you have the weight of the arms, plus you have the grip of the fingers. Okay, we're going to be here for about another 15 seconds. All right, so engaging as you lift up. And finding back bends on the exhale. And 2 more breaths. Think about lifting through the sternum on the inhale. Engage to come back on the exhale. All right, inhale rolls forward. Hands come down to the mat. Let's move the wheel off to the side at first. Keep it close, then we're going to move into a half splits. Straighten the right leg. And we'll bend that left knee. Now try not to come all the way down onto your left heel. Stay lifted. So this is our first version of our half splits. If you like this, stay right here. If you want to add a little intensity, grab the wheel. I'm going to place the wheel right to the outside of the right leg. Gently lift and set your right leg on top of the wheel. All right, so this adds a lot of intensity. So if this is not for you, lose the wheel, take your half splits. We have 3 more breaths here. Framing the right foot. Pull the right hip back so you feel the length in the hamstring on the inhale. And then use that length to fold on the exhale. Yeah, one more like that. Length, inhale. Fold, exhale. All right, walk your hands back towards your body. Lift up, and then we'll remove the foot off the wheel. All right, so moving right into our second side. Left leg forward, right leg back. Find that crescent lunge legs. All right, so we're going to bring the wheel just to the inside of that right quad. Left knee is bent. Right toes are on the ground to start off, so feel out how much pressure you want in that right leg. All right, so we're going to rock forward and back a few times. Start the process of opening up through that right quad. Right quad. Now, if you took your toes off the ground last time, pause here first. Lift your right leg off the ground. Feel the engagement, and then we'll start to roll forward and back again. Little bits of movement here. It's about another 10 seconds. Just one more time. One more forward. One more back. All right, then pause here. Right hand plants just to the outside of your right shoulder. We're going to take that twist. Gently start to bend your right leg. Left arm can reach back and grab the foot or reach in that direction. We're trying to roll that top shoulder open. So if you could grab the foot, grab onto it. A little bit more activeness to roll that top shoulder open. If you're reaching for the shoulder or reaching for the foot, you're a little more in charge of rolling that shoulder open. So once you have that, you can start to add that movement back into your right quad. A little bits of forward and back. Gazing down towards your right hand will help with your balance. Gazing up over your left shoulder is a little challenging. So feel it out, whatever feels best for you. 2 more breaths. All right, now pause your movement. Release the back leg. Guide it to the ground. Let that left hand come forward. And then we're going to come off the wheel, moving into our crescent moon pose. So slide the wheel over into your left leg, just behind that left calf, just underneath the left hamstring. All right, walk your right leg back. Feel nice and secure. Now remember our analogy last time, that screw top analogy. Pull your right hip forward, push your left hip back. Okay, so feel that stability in the hips. Both hands come to this front left knee. So start to lengthen, pressing into your front knee. You're going to lengthen through the spine and feel this right hip start to open up a little more. All right, now the hips are stable. Arms start to reach towards the ceiling, getting some length in the torso. Now as you lift the arms, you might feel that right hip pull back, so push it forward. And then remember our options. We're going to bend the elbows for an active upper back bend. You can take 2 to 3 breaths there. If you like the arms extended, adding a little more leverage and weight to the arms, or if you like the arms interlaced, the fingers interlaced, and releasing the pointer fingers. So whichever version you ended up taking on the other side, work your way towards that version. We have 20 more seconds here. All right, so think about lengthening the spine on the inhales. Let that arms pull you up if you have the hands interlaced. And on the exhale, engaging to come back. Nice, we'll do 2 more breaths like that. Lengthen up on the inhale. Exhale, come on back. One more time, your breath. Exhale. All right, inhale pulls us forward. Let's release the hands down to the ground. Wheel removed off to the side, and we'll find our half splits. Now keep your wheel close. We will move into that wheel half splits here in just a second. So staying here if you like, or if you added the wheel the last time, place the wheel just to the outside of your left leg. And slowly lift your left leg, place it on top. Readjust any parts of the body you need to. Now we're thinking about lengthening this left leg, keeping that left hip pulling back on the inhale, and folding on the exhale. And 2 more breaths like that. Think length on the inhale, the depth on the exhale. One more time, big breath in. Exhale. All right, walk your hands back towards your legs. Lift up, and we'll take the foot off the wheel. All right, so next we're going to move into lizard pose. We're going to bring the wheel to the back left shin, and keeping our left knee on the ground, bring the right foot forward. All right, so coming into a pretty traditional lizard pose. I'm just going to slide these blocks off to the side for right now. Hands are going to stay on the mat. So even if you come down to the elbows, just stay up on the hands for right now. And find a little bit of movement, a little back and forth. So starting to work into the hips. So as we work into our full splits, the hips and the hamstrings, quads, everything needs to be nice and open. So we're going to find that movement here to start to get that synovial fluid movement in our joints. All right, now from here, I'm going to start to extend the arms forward. So one hand at a time. Extend the right arm first, left arm second. Now keeping the gaze forward between those 2 thumbs. Put some pressure into the fingertips. All right. Now from here, you can keep the hands extended, keep that back knee on the ground, or a little bit more, start to lift that back knee off the ground. Now start to readjust. We're looking for length in the spine, length in the hips, gaze forward. Now lots of stability. Engage your left glute to really actively hold that left leg up, but let the left hip start to drop down. We'll take 2 more breaths here. All right, left knee comes down to the ground first. Walk both hands back in. And then we'll bring our right knee next to our left. Now just switching sides. So let's bring the wheel off to the right side. So finding the lizard pose on the other side. Wheel shifts to the right. Place your right shin on top of the wheel. Right knee is on the ground. Then your left foot steps forward. All right, both hands on the mat, about shoulder width apart. And then find some movement here. Little rock back and forth. Just transferring weight from one side of the body to the other. Finding some movement in that left hip. One more breath here. All right, now pause your movement. One hand at a time. Left fingers first. Right set of fingers second. Start to extend the arms forward. All right, now gazing forward. Think about lengthening through the spine. All right, pressing it into all 10 fingertips. Engage your right glute. We're going to gently lift that right leg off the mat. You might need to adjust the hands. So maybe walking the hands in a little farther, or maybe walking them out a little farther. All right, so now our right leg is off the ground. Lots of intensity happening with that right hamstring, or sorry, right hip flexor. So start to engage to the right glute. Let your right hip start to drop down. Gaze forward. So keep that length in your spine. We got 2 more breaths here. Right, now slowly walk the hands back in, stabilize your base, and we're going to let that right knee come back to the ground. Both knees step together, and we'll take a hero's pose. So just sitting back on the heels, take your hands, take your thumbs, and start to roll out through the hamstrings, the quads, or through the hip flexors. So whatever's kind of giving you a little bit of trouble right now. Big breath. All right, so moving into Skandasana next. So starting to work on the groin a little bit. So Skandasana, we're going to have an option to take with the wheel or without the wheel. Adding the wheel adds a lot of intensity. So I'm going to show you first with the wheel, and then I'll show you versions without the wheel. Okay. So for Skandasana, this is going to be a big inner thigh stretch. So we're going to start with our left leg extended, right knee bent. Okay. So the way I like to get into this, I'll have my wheel off to the side. Both my hands come down to the mat. I'm going to start with my left leg extended, so my right knee is bent. So I'm going to transfer the weight to my right leg, lift my left leg, and then place the sole of my left foot right on top of that wheel. All right, now just as you need to. I like to have my right elbow pressing into my right knee to give me some stability. All right, now from here, I'm going to start to drop the hips towards the ground and feel this lengthening in the inner thigh. Now, if this is too much for you, lose the wheel and just take this nice inside groin stretch, driving the knife edge of this left foot towards the ground. Okay, so whichever version feels best for you, hang out there, about 10 more seconds. Now, if you start to feel a little compression, cramping on this top left hip, just come out of it, take a few breaths, and then see if you can come back into it. 2 more breaths. Push away from you on the inhale. Sink on the exhale. All right, slowly change. Press into the hands, lift the body, and then bring the knees back together. Sit back on the heels, lengthen the spine, take a deep breath in. Exhale. All right, second side. I'm going to slide the wheel off to the back. So I'm still facing the camera. You can just flip around if you like. So this time, starting with the left knee bent, both my hands are to my left elbow is pressing into my left knee. I'm going to transfer my weight to the left, pick the right foot up, and place the sole of my right foot onto the wheel. Now, if you took the version with your foot on the ground last time, honor your practice, take that version. So we got about 25 more seconds here. So whichever version you took, remember your options. If you're feeling any cramping on that top right hip, you can come up, take a few breaths, relieve the cramping, and then start to press back into it. Now, whichever version you're taking, try to drive the knife edge of that right foot away from you. All right, so you're really active through the top of the leg, so you can open up through the bottom of that leg. 2 more breaths. All right, start to press into the hands. Slowly lift your body up. Release that right leg from the wheel. We'll come back into our hero's pose. Now, palms of the hands, thumbs, whichever feels best. Start to work into the hip flexors, into the quads. Start to relieve any pressure that might be causing it there. All right, so working into full splits now, okay? So this is going to be where we use our blocks, if you have them. If not, we will show you without the blocks too, okay? So if you have your blocks, grab your blocks. We're going to place them on the highest height, just to the outside of your mat, all right? And then whether you have the blocks or not, your wheel is going to come forward, all right? We're going to start with the right leg forward, left leg back. So this is very similar to the crescent moon pose we started with, where we have the, we're going to start with the wheel underneath the right knee. But this time that left leg is going to get pretty far back there. Okay, so we want to create a lot of openness with this left hip flexor so we can get the length we need from this right hamstring. Okay, so starting off with the blocks, if you have them, blocks are at the highest points. We can press into the blocks and keep the spine nice and long. Now, if you're working without blocks today, no problem. Hands come down a little farther forward. You're going to have a little slope to your spine. Not a problem at all. Okay, so just with your, if you are not using the blocks, you're a little more aware of how unstable the hips are, okay? So if you're using the blocks, you have even pressure coming down, which is one of the reasons I like the blocks, right? But if you're not using the blocks and you're using the body, sometimes we tend to move to one side or the other. So make sure you have even pressure coming down to the hips, okay? So from here, I'm going to use the blocks, start to sink down. Now, if you want to add more, right, start to come out of this, bring the wheel farther forward, maybe just under the calf side, under the knee, all right, both hands on either side, and then we start to sink again. And then finding your depth. If you have the blocks, try to keep your spine straight. If you don't have the blocks, Just keep that even pressure in the hips. Now we're going to be here for about another 20 seconds. Adding intensity. So if you want more, come out of this, bring the wheel more towards your Achilles, and start to walk your leg away from you. Just be mindful not to hyperextend through this right knee, so we're still staying nice and engaged. Right hip back, left hip forward. 10 more seconds. Try to keep that right leg pushing the wheel away from you. Feel that length. Take one more breath. All right, then slowly change. Walk the hands back in. Bring the foot off the wheel. And then we're going to take a hero's pose, and then moving it into a quick embryo. So bring the knees together. Let the body rest on top of the legs. Forehead down towards the mat, arms down by the sides. Just releasing all of our major muscle groups. 2 more breaths. All right, next inhale, rise up. And we're going to move to our last side. All right, so moving into that half or the full splits on this side. Start off with the blocks, without the blocks, whatever you did on the other side. All right, but we'll start with that long, low lunge. So knee on top of the wheel. Right knee is very far back, so create that openness with the right hip flexor. All right, I'm going to use the blocks for my second set because my left hamstring is a little tight right now. Okay, so feel this out. Remember, adding intensity. Bring the wheel forward. You can bring the wheel to about the calf, out from underneath the knee. Lengthen through the spine, lengthen through your hips, and sink it down. Now again, if the hands are on the floor, just make sure that right hip is tracking forward. Sometimes it wants to move back, so make sure that right hip is forward. Think about pushing the left leg forward on the wheel on the inhale, and then finding depth with the hips on the exhale. Nice, about 20 more seconds here. You can always pause when you need to, come out of this, take breaks, whatever is in your practice. So listen to your body. 2 more breaths. Breath in. Sink on the exhale. All right, now pressing into the floor or your blocks, start to lift up. Let's bring that left foot off the wheel. All right. All props off to the side except for your wheel. We're going to take a melting heart. Okay. So bring the wheel forward. Knees about hip distance apart. Hips on top of the knees, so not back towards the heels. Both hands on top of the wheel. And then we're going to slowly let the chest drop towards the ground. So big opening for the chest. Start to feel the shoulders engage behind you. Chest is dropping down. Gaze can be forward or gaze can be towards the ground, whatever feels best for you. Let the chest and sternum start to pull down. Two more breaths. And then slowly roll the hips all the way back towards the heels. And then walk the hands all the way up. So a nice seated position. Long spine, big breath in. Exhale. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I got more classes coming at you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste.